Welcome to today's Lost Souls, where we bring you the most impactful and unforgettable stories from around the world. Today, we remember the lives of remarkable individuals whose legacies continue to inspire and resonate. From iconic musicians to trailblazing activists, join us as we celebrate their extraordinary contributions and bid farewell to those who have left an indelible mark on our lives. Stay tuned for a journey through their incredible stories.
Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers, the charismatic actor, former NFL player, and pop culture icon best known for his role as Apollo Creed in the Rocky franchise, has passed away at the age of 76. With his larger-than-life presence and magnetic screen energy, Carl was more than just a movie star. He was a symbol of strength, pride, and undeniable cool. Born in 1948 in New Orleans, Louisiana, Carl was athletic from the very beginning. He excelled in multiple sports and eventually landed a football scholarship to San Diego State University. That talent took him all the way to the NFL, where he played for the Oakland Raiders, proving early on that discipline, work ethic, and drive were central to everything he did. But even while playing professional football, Carl's heart was leaning toward the stage. He studied theater during the off-season, and when he eventually left football, he dove headfirst into acting, bringing the same intensity to performance as he did to the field. Then came Rocky. Cast as Apollo Creed, the flashy, confident heavyweight champion who becomes Rocky Balboa's rival and later his closest friend, Carl didn't just play a role, he created an icon. Apollo wasn't just tough, he was elegant, intelligent, and proud. Carl's performance brought depth and dignity to a character that could have been a stereotype. Instead, he became unforgettable. The chemistry between Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone lit up the screen, and their dynamic defined one of cinema's most beloved rivalries turned brotherhoods. Apollo's death in Rocky IV became one of the most emotional moments in sports film history, and it still resonates with fans today. But Carl didn't stop there. From the jungle warfare of Predator to the hilarious golf mentor in Happy Gilmore, he showed his range again and again. More recently, his role as Greef Karga in The Mandalorian introduced him to a whole new generation, and he even directed episodes of the hit series, proving that his talents went far beyond acting. Off-camera, Carl was known as generous, focused, and deeply committed to his craft. He mentored younger actors, spoke about education and discipline, and never lost sight of the importance of hard work. He was proud of his roots, proud of his journey, and always approached life with a competitive but humble spirit. Carl Weathers didn't just entertain, he inspired. He showed what it meant to be strong, to evolve, and to lead with both confidence and class. He leaves behind a legacy that punches hard, runs deep, and stands tall. Shane MacGowan. Shane MacGowan, the legendary frontman of the Pogues and one of the most raw, poetic voices in punk and folk music, has passed away at the age of 65. Known for his gravelly voice, rebellious spirit, and deeply emotional lyrics, Shane was more than a musician, he was a storyteller of the streets, the pubs, and the soul. Born in Kent, England, in 1957 to Irish parents, Shane's roots ran deep into Irish soil. He spent much of his childhood in rural Tipperary, surrounded by traditional Irish music and culture, an influence that would shape his musical identity for life. Though he struggled in school, his love for literature, poetry, and rebellion made him an outsider with a fire in his chest. That fire would one day ignite a movement. In the 1980s, Shane formed the Pogues, blending the furious energy of punk rock with the heart-wrenching beauty of traditional Irish folk. It was something the world hadn't quite heard before, and it hit hard. With songs like Dirty Old Town, The Body of an American, and the timeless Christmas anthem Fairy Tale of New York, Shane carved out a place in music history where the rowdy met the romantic, and pain was always wrapped in poetry. Fairy Tale of New York, in particular, became a cultural phenomenon. Shane's duet with Kirsty MacColl told a bitter, beautiful love story full of regret, hope, and gritty reality. Every holiday season, it echoed through pubs and radios, a reminder that not all love stories are clean, but they can still be unforgettable. Behind the music, Shane battled demons, addiction, health issues, and the chaos that often follows genius. But no matter how rough things got, he never stopped writing, never stopped singing. His voice, cracked, real, and full of life, became a symbol of the working class, of Irish identity, of anyone who's ever hurt and hoped at the same time. Despite his wild image, those who knew Shane spoke of his deep intelligence, his kindness, and his passion for language. He quoted James Joyce and Oscar Wilde as easily as he sang about lost love and drinking in alleyways. He was chaos and grace in equal measure. Shane MacGowan didn't chase fame. He chased truth. In his lyrics, in his pain, in his joy, he told the story of the forgotten and the furious. And though his voice may be silent now, the songs he gave us will echo forever. Norman Lear. Norman Lear, the legendary television producer, writer, and social change-maker who redefined American entertainment, has passed away at the remarkable age of 101. For over half a century, Norman used comedy not just to make us laugh, but to make us think, challenge norms, and grow as a society. Born in 1922 in New Haven, Connecticut, Norman Lear's journey was shaped early by struggle and resilience. He grew up during the Great Depression and served in World War II as a radio operator and gunner. After the war, he headed west to California, chasing a dream of storytelling, and he caught it. The television world in the 1970s was never the same after Norman Lear arrived. With All in the Family, he flipped the sitcom formula on its head. Instead of escapism, he brought reality, racism, sexism, politics, poverty, right into America's living rooms, with Archie Bunker sitting at the head of the table. The show was controversial, bold, and completely revolutionary. And it worked. From there, Norman created a legacy that can only be called historic. The Jeffersons, Maude, Good Times, and One Day at a Time weren't just hit shows, they were mirrors of American society. He gave voice to working-class families, to women, to Black and Latino communities, and to anyone who wasn't being represented on screen. He believed television had a responsibility beyond entertainment, it had to reflect the truth. What made Norman different was that he never preached, he listened. His characters were flawed, funny, and deeply human. He believed in humor's power to connect, disarm, and create change. And millions of viewers, across decades, were moved by that magic. Even in his later years, Norman never stopped working or fighting for causes he believed in. He was a fierce advocate for free speech, civil rights, and civic engagement. At 98, he became the oldest Emmy winner in history. At 100, he was still producing, still writing, still inspiring. Friends, collaborators, and fans alike describe him the same way: generous, sharp, fearless, and kind. His work didn't just shape television, it shaped the culture. He gave people something to talk about at the dinner table. He made people uncomfortable in the best way. And he always kept his heart in the work. Norman Lear was more than a TV legend. He was a cultural force. And though the curtain may have fallen on his time, the light he brought to the screen, and to the world, will never f. David Soul. David Soul, the soulful actor and singer best remembered for his role as Detective Kenneth Hutch Hutchinson in the iconic TV series Starsky and Hutch, has passed away at the age of 80. With his golden hair, piercing eyes, and unmistakable voice, David became one of the most beloved television figures of the 1970s, but his impact reached far beyond the screen. Born in Chicago in 1943, David's early life was full of movement and discovery. His father was a Lutheran minister and educator, which meant the family traveled often, even spending time in Berlin shortly after World War II. It was during these formative years that David's interest in people, stories, and music began to take root. Originally pursuing a path in music, he later found himself drawn to acting, a decision that would define his legacy. He first appeared on screen as the Covered Man, performing songs while wearing a mask on the Merv Griffin show, before stepping into acting roles. But it was Starsky and Hutch that catapulted him into stardom. Alongside Paul Michael Glaser, David brought a mix of charm, toughness, and emotional depth to the role of Hutch. The duo's chemistry lit up screens across America and beyond, making them household names and pop culture icons. Beyond acting, David's soul had a voice that resonated deeply. His ballad "Don't Give Up on Us" became a chart-topping hit in the UK and the US, showing that his talents weren't limited to just one field. The song remains a nostalgic favorite, evoking memories of a time when music and television were powerfully intertwined. As his career evolved, David found a second home in the UK, where he continued to perform on stage and television. He took on complex roles in theater, often tackling serious and thought-provoking subjects. His performances were always infused with sincerity and vulnerability, qualities that had made him beloved from the start. But David's story wasn't just about fame. He openly spoke about personal struggles, including battles with alcoholism, and used his experiences to grow and help others. In his later years, he became an advocate for social justice, passionate about humanitarian issues and deeply involved in supporting the arts. To many, David's soul wasn't just Hutch, he was a symbol of heart, resilience, and creative depth. He proved that a Hollywood heartthrob could also be a soulful storyteller, a musician, and a man of purpose. His legacy lives on not only in reruns and records but in the countless lives he touched with his art and honesty. Terry Venables. Terry Venables, the charismatic football manager and former player who brought flair, passion, and intelligence to the beautiful game, has passed away at the age of 80. To many, he wasn't just a coach or an athlete, he was a footballing mind ahead of his time, a leader who inspired generations, and a man who wore his heart on his sleeve. Born in Dagenham, East London, in 1943, Terry came from humble beginnings. His talent on the pitch was obvious from a young age, and he soon found himself rising through the ranks of English football. Starting his professional playing career at Chelsea, he later played for Tottenham Hotspur and Queen's Park Rangers. As a midfielder, Terry wasn't just skilled, he was smart. He saw the game differently, thinking 2 steps ahead, always calm under pressure. But it was from the sidelines where Terry Venables truly became iconic. As a manager, he had a gift for tactics, man management, and motivating his players to reach new heights. His most famous stint came with the England national team, where he led the Three Lions during Euro '96, a tournament that still lives in the hearts of English fans. Under his leadership, England played with style and courage, coming within a whisker of reaching the final. That summer, Venables became a national hero. He wasn't afraid to be bold. Whether it was introducing new formations, taking creative risks, or standing by his players in tough moments, Terry did everything with conviction. His time managing clubs like Barcelona, Tottenham, and Leeds also cemented his status as one of the most respected minds in football. At Barcelona, he even led the team to a La Liga title, earning admiration across Europe. Terry's life off the pitch was just as colorful. He co-wrote novels, appeared on television, and was known for his wit, warmth, and larger-than-life personality. He wasn't just a coach, he was a storyteller, a thinker, and someone who brought people together, whether in the dressing room or around a dinner table. Friends, colleagues, and former players often described him as a mentor, someone who cared not just about winning, but about people, He nurtured talent, believed in second chances, and always stood by his principles. Terry Venables leaves behind a legacy that transcends trophies. He changed how people thought about football, with heart, with creativity, and with courage. And though he may be gone, the roar of the crowd, the thrill of a daring play, and the spirit of belief he inspired will echo on every pitch he touched. Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, the towering and often controversial figure in global diplomacy, has passed away at the remarkable age of 100. A man whose name became synonymous with power, realpolitik, and back-channel negotiations, Kissinger shaped the course of world history like few others in the 20th century. Whether you saw him as a brilliant strategist or a divisive operator, one thing is certain: Henry Kissinger left a legacy that will be studied and debated for generations. Born in 1923 in Germany to a Jewish family, Kissinger fled the Nazi regime with his family and arrived in the United States as a teenager. He served in the U.S. Army during World War II and later pursued an academic path that led him to Harvard, where he quickly made a name for himself as a sharp and analytical thinker. But it wasn't just theory that interested him. Kissinger wanted to be where decisions were made. He rose to international prominence as National Security Advisor and later Secretary of State under Presidents Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. It was during these years, the height of the Cold War, that Kissinger's influence reached its peak. He played a central role in shaping U.S. foreign policy, often working quietly behind closed doors to achieve results that others thought impossible. One of his most famous achievements was opening diplomatic relations with China in the 1970s. His secret trip to Beijing paved the way for President Nixon's historic visit and a thaw in relations between two global powers that had been locked in silence. It was a move that reshaped the geopolitical landscape and is still felt today. Kissinger also helped negotiate the end of the Vietnam War, earning a Nobel Peace Prize, a decision that sparked both praise and outrage. His role in U.S. actions in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East made him a lightning rod for criticism. Supporters called him a master strategist, critics accused him of prioritizing power over principle. Kissinger, for his part, always said he did what he believed was necessary to protect American interests in a complex and dangerous world. Even in his later years, Kissinger remained active, writing books, giving lectures, and advising world leaders. Into his 90s and even past 100, he never stopped being part of the conversation. He met with Chinese presidents, attended high-level summits, and offered insight on everything from artificial intelligence to global security. Henry Kissinger was never an easy man to define. He operated in the shadows and spotlight alike, mastering the art of diplomacy while navigating the moral ambiguity that came with it. His presence shaped a century, and now, with his passing, a chapter of history closes. Debbie Harry. Debbie Harry, the iconic frontwoman of Blondie and one of the most influential figures in punk and new wave music, has passed away at the age of 78. With her platinum blonde hair, fearless style, and voice that could flip from tender to electric in a heartbeat, Debbie wasn't just a singer, she was a revolution. Born Angela Trimble in Miami, Florida, in 1945 and adopted as Deborah and Harry, her early life was marked by curiosity, creativity, and a longing for something bigger. She moved to New York City in the late 1960s, where she worked as a secretary, go-go dancer, and even a Playboy bunny, but always with one foot in the world of art and music. Debbie's life changed forever in the mid-1970s when she met guitarist Chris Stein and formed Blondie. Together, they created a sound that defied categories, a blend of punk attitude, pop sensibility, disco grooves, and reggae beats. Debbie's voice and charisma lit the fuse. She wasn't just performing music, she was channeling the raw, wild energy of a changing world. Hits like Heart of Glass, Call Me, Rapture, and one way or another turned Blondie into global superstars. Debbie became a fashion icon, a punk goddess, and a symbol of independence for generations of women. She was edgy but elegant, tough yet vulnerable, the kind of star who didn't just ride the wave of culture, but made it. But her journey wasn't easy. Debbie took time away from the spotlight in the 1980s to care for Chris Stein during his illness, showing the depth of her loyalty and love. She later returned with solo projects, acting roles, and eventually a Blondie comeback that reintroduced her to a new generation of fans. Through it all, her spirit never faded. Beyond music, Debbie Harry was an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, environmental causes, and animal welfare. She used her voice not just to sing, but to speak up, always unafraid, always authentic. Debbie Harry wasn't just a performer, she was a cultural force. She broke barriers, rewrote the rules, and gave countless people the courage to be themselves. Her presence on stage was electric, but her legacy goes far beyond the lights and the music. She was, and always will be, one of a kind. Liam Neeson, the beloved Irish actor whose deep voice, commanding presence, and emotional depth made him a favorite across generations, has passed away at the age of 72. From powerful dramas to action-packed thrillers, Liam brought a rare authenticity to every role, a quiet storm of talent, strength, and soul. Born in Ballymena, Northern Ireland, in 1952, Liam grew up with humble beginnings. He was named after a local priest, and his first love was boxing, not acting. But life had other plans. After trying out several jobs, truck driver, forklift operator, even a teacher in training, he found the stage. And when he did, something clicked. He wasn't just performing, he was becoming. Liam's early career was rooted in theatre. He trained with the prestigious Lyric Players Theatre in Belfast, and later moved to Dublin to work with the Abbey Theatre. His talent soon caught the eye of filmmakers, and by the 1980s, he was beginning to make waves on screen. But it was in 1993 that everything changed. Schindler's List, directed by Steven Spielberg, showcased Liam like never before. As Oscar Schindler, he delivered a haunting, layered performance that earned him an Oscar nomination and global recognition. That role proved he wasn't just a good actor. He was a great one. What followed was a career of remarkable range. He played Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars, brought Aslan to life in the Chronicles of Narnia, and transformed into an unexpected action hero in Taken, a role that redefined his legacy in his 50s. With just one line, "I will find you, and I will kill you," he became a legend to a whole new audience. Off-screen, Liam's life was marked by deep love and tragedy. His marriage to actress Natasha Richardson was a true partnership, full of affection and respect. When she tragically passed in 2009, Liam mourned privately but carried on with quiet resilience, channeling his pain into his work with even more emotional power. He never chased fame. He valued privacy, purpose, and craft. Friends described him as soft-spoken, thoughtful, and deeply kind, a man who never lost touch with his roots, no matter how high he rose. Liam Neeson leaves behind a legacy of unforgettable characters and a body of work that spans continents, genres, and generations. But more than that, he leaves behind a reminder that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it speaks softly, with wisdom, dignity, and a voice that will never be forgotten.